statement. Thank you.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrave.
This part one is a very sad part of this bill, because what we now know is that Mr Dunn the National Party, aided and abetted by Mr Dunn, is going to raise revenue of approximately $14 million out of the pockets, out of the piggy banks, out of the wallets, according to the regulatory impact statement, of 68,600 children. You know, $14 million, 68,600 children. And it's been referred to as the sort of, you know, these are kids who are doing paper runs, things like that. Now, cleaning, delivering the community papers, you know, they'll be delivering do not vote national pamphlets at the next election, I'm sure, in the back of the little... There'll be volunteers then. And, you know, I just wonder, for instance, my question is, did Jerry Brownlee ever have a paper run? No, sorry, that would be an oxymoron. That would be completely absurd, a paper run. I'm told that Jerry Brownlee, though, had a milk run, you know, back in the old days, where there was full cream, double cream, but very little, I think, actually ever got delivered to the front gate. Maggie Barry talked about she believed in recycling. Well, I got to say, if ever there was a member who's come into this house who's been recycled, the odd scent of compost swirling around her, then my word, it's that member, the member that sits in select committees and intimidates submitters asking them how they voted. Well, I wonder if Maggie Barry... Yeah?
Come back.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Yeah, sorry. My apologies. Sorry.
I wasn't a paper boy. We cure pigeons, and I don't come back.
Oh no, sir. I'm sure I'm sure, sir, you aspired to the sort of pizza delivery type of deal rather than a paper round, sir. I'm sure. But I just say this to this government. This is the big idea in the budget. Take $14 million off a bunch of kids. This is the big strategy lined up alongside flogging assets off, trying to hoodwink people by saying, oh, if we buy non-revenue generating assets, that's a good thing, isn't it? Until the money runs out, of course. So the big idea in the budget is not to deal with the big issues of taxation. They fail to tell us, of course, or remind us that they're borrowing $300 million a week so that the top 5 or 10% can get the vast majority of the tax cuts. But they are awake enough to take $14 million out of the piggy banks of 68,600 young people. Retrospectively. Well, I say, Mr Dunn, the man who will go down in history as the auctioneer, the biggest auctioneer in our history if he votes for asset sales, going, gone, and now, of course, is the Uncle Scrooge of the Parliament. The Uncle Scrooge of the Parliament. What a great legacy Mr Dunn will deliver as he sort of flip-flop from party. The man, I think the record will show, as the longest-serving Revenue Minister in the history of the Parliamentary Commonwealth. He has been in more parties and in more coalitions than I've had hot dinners, and more than Jerry Brownlee's had hot dinners. Oh, no, sorry, that would be silly. But I say this. I ask Mr Dunn to reflect on the provision in Part 1. Does he really, sir, want to go down in history as the man who took $14 million out of the piggy banks of 68,600 paper boys, delivery people, cleaners, paper girls, oh sorry, there's one over there, the old turnip in the corner, paper girls. Does he really want to go down in history? Go on gardening leave, I say, Mr Barry, go on gardening leave, you'll be better at it. Go on gardening leave. It's a better occupation for you, I think, that than intimidating submitters to select committees. So Mr Dunn will go down in history as a person who took the money out of the mouths of babes. That will be his legacy to the Parliament. That and helping the government flog off assets. So I just say, what does Mr Dunn say to his grandkids? Has he had a conversation with his grandkids and say, sorry guys, you know how you're going to do that after school job? Sorry, I'm the Revenue Minister. I'm going to sneak round the back, and as you get your $45, I'm going to whip out the tax from you before you can slip it into the piggy bank at home. And this is the party of aspiration. Was not this the party that was encouraging entrepreneurship? Well, shouldn't we be doing that with our young people? Isn't it Miss Bennett who says you should get off your backside and get a job, even though, of course, the job numbers, the unemployment's gone up by 50,000 under her wonderful legacy. So they say on the one hand, get a job, We have 68,600 young people who are going to get a job. Many of them, in all seriousness, I say, it is no longer an after-school job, Mr Speaker, Mr Chairman.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
It is no longer an after-school job for a bit of pocket money. No. If you're out in Struggle Street battling away thanks to this mob, paying the higher GST, paying the higher charges, having lost your job, having been absolutely gutted as a family, then the old paper boy or paper girl's job or the old little bit of cleaning round at the butcher shop is no longer about pocket money, Mr Chairman. It's actually about helping mum and dad try and make ends meet. And to the geniuses over there, one of them who's sort of poddled off to the back of the veggie patch in the garden, I say this, that $45 to some of those people over there may not be a big chunk of dough. Oh no, not to some of them of course. But to a bottle of wine, yeah, a few over there I think they've imbibing tonight. But I say this, to a child earning $45 and now every dollar they earn they will have to pay tax on. That is their contribution in many poor families to the family food budget, to the power bill, to the rates, to all those things, to the rent. And I wonder if in this sort of blasé way, I wonder if Miss Bennett has actually sort of considered that one, as she leaves a legacy of 50,000 plus people unemployed. How does she balance that against the call for aspiration? Oh, don't look at me with the dagger eyes. I know it hurts, Miss Bennett, but they're the facts. 50,000 people, thanks to that minister and her in action. And she says, get off your backside and get a job. Of course, she hasn't provided any jobs. In fact, she's presided over an administration that has gutted jobs out of this country. Gutted them. And yet she's prepared to sit there. I don't think she's talking to herself. I presume that might be an unintelligible conversation. She talks to herself. I wonder if she'll go out and talk to the young people in her electorate and tell them why she is aiding and abetting this, and tell them why they shouldn't believe what she said about aspiration, because, of course, she's going to take their dollars. Oh, hang on, the balloon's burst. I say this, is she going to go out to her electorate and actually talk about that? Is she actually going to go and talk to her constituents and explain to their mothers and fathers why this is happening? Because as Trevor Mallard said a little while ago, those 68,600 young people will not want to get paid to deliver pamphlets at the next election. They will volunteer. They will volunteer to deliver Don't Vote for National cards in every letterbox in this country. And of course, Paula Bennett tries every trick to divert us away from the fact that her legacy is 50,000 people on the scrap heap, the lost and lonelies, and now you add to that a dash for cash for $14 million. Well, I just say she can squawk all alike and talk about all sorts of things. But the problem Paula Bennett's got is she can't walk away from facts and history. She can't walk away from her own legacy. She can't walk away from 50,000 people on the scrap heap. So I just wonder, as the members go out this weekend to their constituencies in Wanganui and a few other places around there, I wonder if Mr Burrows will front up to the parents, whip down to the primary school and see the teachers and tell the kids that their paper round is over. They may as well go home and sit on their backside because the government is playing Uncle Scrooge. But let's come back to it in context. This is not the biggest issue of moment for this economy, nor is it the biggest issue of moment that should be addressed in this budget. We were looking for a strategy, for a plan, for anything, as our business in Auckland and Christchurch and other places. The best they could do in Canterbury, the best budget announcement down there was for Mr Brownlee to announce he'd spent half the dough. Yes?
We're on part one, and it's got nothing to do with Canterbury.
Yes, it has, Mr Speaker. Part one's got a heck... Oh, that's my next speech. That's got a heck of a lot to do with Canterbury, because we do have young people down there who do after-school jobs, sir. We do have young people down there who are scraping for it. We do have families down there who are destitute. I beg to differ without challenging your ruling. This has everything to do with Canterbury and the rest of New Zealand. And it's a bill that has no ideas in it, no strategy in it. The whole budget is encapsulated around the odd nickel and diming, tweak and bit of spin. It has everything, I say to you, sir, try visiting there sometime, about Canterbury. Because there's 10,000 families down there, sir, who will not have the means to carry on for much longer if this government doesn't come up with some ideas on how to employ people, how to engage people, how to support people, and ditch silly little mean-spirited ideas like this in this bill. A mean-spirited bill from a mean-spirited government, wrapping it up in austerity. No one believes them.
In this debate, Mr. Speaker, used to be a man of vision.